Welcome back, everybody, to our Week 11 installment of Audibles. Getting right into it for our starts of the week. I'm going to jump right into it with our quarterbacks. I'm going with Cam Newton against the Washington football team. As you already saw, they're calling his number up over at Carolina, and just like he was calling last week, he is back. Washington football team is 32nd, which is dead last in the league against quarterbacks. They're giving up over 23 points, over 290 passing yards, and they've given up 22 passing touchdowns on the year, which is second in the league. Washington football team is also bottom 7 in the league versus mobile quarterbacks, which Cam Newton is the epitome of a mobile quarterback. I like the little revenge game narrative for himself as well, going up against his old former coach that over at Ron Rivera on the other sideline.
Ron Rivera says he has a whole game plan just in case he ever had to face Cam Newton again, but we'll see about that. I don't think he's going to stop him. He's definitely a vulture in the goal line too, so he should get some rushing touchdowns. He scored a rushing touchdown his first game back and a passing touchdown, so that bodes well for the future.
And they also just lost Chase Young for the year, which is a big part of their defense.
Yeah, he would definitely be chasing Cam Newton every chance he got, but sad to see him go down.
Not
anymore. My quarterback this week is Ryan Tannehill. He's playing against the Houston Texans, who's 26th versus quarterbacks. He's scored 20 in the last 3 of the last 4 games, so he's on a hot streak right now. And he also has a rushing touchdown in 5 different games this year, 4 of which came in the last 5 weeks. So he's getting points on the ground too, which is great for a fantasy quarterback. And you like to see that. And he's going up against Houston, who he has a great history against. He's averaging 28 fantasy points against Houston. So he should have a good week this week.
Yeah, that Titans offense, they're trying to find a new identity without King Henry back there. They've signed a couple running backs, Deonta Foreman, Adrian Peterson, Jerry McNichols hasn't really been doing much. They're really having to rely on Tannehill. Hopefully, even with Julio Jones out, A.J. Brown steps it up. I think that you're right. I think Ryan Tannehill can get it done.
All right, jumping into the running backs this week.
Running back.
I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon. It's probably an obvious choice with Aaron Jones out. He's looked great when he's had the ball. He could be a top 10 running back this week with the bulk of the carries. He got 128 yards and 2 touchdowns last week with Aaron Jones playing. So he should have a good week this week.
Yeah, he could easily be top 5 running back now that he's got the majority of that backfield to himself. They've been getting him more and more involved as the year's gone on. It's unfortunate to see Aaron Jones go down. Hopefully, if you're an Aaron Jones owner, you were able to either stash him as a cuff or you were able to get him in the waiver wire this week. But I think A.J. Dillon's going to be a hot commodity this week.
And I think if A.J. Dillon was on any other team, he'd be a starter, probably a RB1 in most leagues. So most formats.
They're using him in the passing game. The Packers are using him in the passing game more than he ever was used in college, and he seems to do fairly well. So I'd be watching out for Quadzilla if I was anybody else.
And he's going up against the Vikings, who gave up 7 touchdowns to running backs in the last 5 weeks. So they're vulnerable.
Absolutely. And giving up somewhere, and they're giving it up to the running backs.
All right.
I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette this week versus the Giants at home. Giants are 28th versus the running backs. They're allowing over 28 points to the position total. He's got that backfield on lock. As far as this year has been concerned, Ronald Jones is a non-factor. Gio Bernard gets some work in the passing game, but it's been Leonard Fournette's area of expertise all year this year. He gets most of the carries. He is involved heavily in the passing game as well. Tampa Bay is 10.5-point favorites, which is a positive game script for Fournette. And honestly, I think just the Buccaneers in general are just going to light the world on fire this week after being embarrassed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they definitely need to after that Washington game. And he's been really impressive in the passing game. Like his receiving he's
averaging 5, 6, 7 targets a game. The last few weeks, he's just so heavily involved. I don't see how anybody could not play him.
So he's great, especially in a PPR league.
Wide receiver.
All right, I'll go first. I got Brandon Cooks. They're going up against Tennessee, who's dead last against the wide receivers. They're giving up an average of 29 points to the wide receiver position. Before the bye week, Brandon Cook saw 14 targets. He's got Tyrod Taylor back, so we know what they could do. They had a great start to the season. It got Brandon Cook's season slowed down after Tyrod Taylor got hurt, but he's back, so hopefully that success will continue. So,
yeah, he was easily Taylor's favorite target to go to, especially in that week one. Everybody who drafted him in the 10th round or later was extremely happy after seeing that week one finish. Now that Tyrod Taylor's back, I expect to see that workload continue. Switching over to my wide receiver for the week, I'm going with Jalen Waddle versus the Jets. The Jets over the last 4 weeks are 32nd versus wide receivers. They're giving up over 47 points over those last 4 weeks. And over the last 2 weeks, they've given up almost 50 points to wide receivers. I mean, after playing against Josh Allen and seeing what he did to the Jets, that kind of skews the numbers a little bit. But going all the way back to a whole month of football, they're still 32nd versus wide receivers. Waddle has become the go-to guy in that offense, in that passing game. And the Dolphins have been consistently top 10 in passing attempts for the week. So you put those two together, somebody who's heavily targeted in a top 10 pass attempt offense, he should be lights out this week.
Yeah, and they announced Tua as a starter, and he's a go-to for Tua, so we should see a lot of targets go his way this week.
Yeah, and over the last 4 weeks, Waddle has averaged about 90% of the offensive snaps, and he's an electric player. He can catch the ball off of the screen and take it to the house, so I like to see what he can do.
All right, moving on to the tight end.
Tight end.
I'm going to go with CJ Uzama this week against the Raiders. They're 31st versus tight end position. They're allowing 11 points to the tight ends. He has a touchdown in 3 of his last 6 games. We've seen the potential of a blow-up game. He's scored over 20 points twice this season. It's not common, but he's definitely got a high ceiling and a good matchup this week.
Yeah, he's definitely a safety blanket for Burrow back there. A little security blanket, and he's targeted in the red zone several times. When you're a big-bodied tight end and a high-powered offense, you're easily able to get a couple touchdowns, maybe.
And I did want to mention Hunter Henry again. Like I said last week, he gets a touchdown just about every week, and we saw him get one last week. He's probably going to do it again, so definitely start him this week as well.
Yeah, Hunter Henry, he's been very touchdown dependent all year. He doesn't get very many targets every game, but he gets the targets that matter, which is on the 5-10 yard line as far as in the red zone goes. He finished the game with 3 catches for 10 yards, but 2 touchdowns. He can easily do that. He's been doing that all year. So I like Hunter Henry too. Over at my tight end, I got Pat Freiermuth versus the Chargers. The Chargers has been lights out on defense as far as stopping wide receivers, but they give it up to the running backs and tight ends. They are 28th versus tight ends on the season, giving up almost 17 points per game. Chargers just gave up 2 touchdowns to Tyler Conklin last week. And I know Freiermuth had a down game last week, but he still had 9 targets, and that was with Big Ben out. And Big Ben has already shown that he's starting to show a liking to Freiermuth. So Big Ben should be back, and he'll be looking for his tight end against a defense that plays soft versus tight ends.
Yeah, I was not positive about Big Ben, so he is playing this week. So that should definitely elevate Freiermuth.
Like I said, even if Mason Rudolph plays again, Rudolph gave him 9 targets. So
yeah,
Rudolph isn't a pretty name, but he's still an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our bust alert this week. Who you got?
My bust alert, I'm calling it. He's a big reason to why the Washington football team was able to beat the Buccaneers last week. But Terry McLaurin versus the Panthers is going to be a bust this week. I'm calling it. Panthers are 3rd versus wide receivers this season. They're only giving up 28 points per game. Panthers are number 1 versus wide receivers over the last 4 weeks, only allowing 18 points per game to the position. And it's a game with an over-under of only 43.5, which is the lowest point total on the week. And that gives the Washington football team a 20-point team implied total, which isn't very many. So the points could go to Ricky Seals-Jones. I think Logan Thomas is possibly coming back this week. Antonio Gibson just had a great game against a tough run defense in the Buccaneers. I just don't see how Taylor Heineke is going to be able to perform against a really tough pass defense.
I mean, he looked pretty good against Tampa, but
Tampa's really
Tampa
soft in
had
the
a bad
secondary,
game.
though. Tampa's good against the run, but they're really soft in the secondary.
My bust this week, I'm probably going to regret because he is the number one running back in standard and PPR leagues. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor solely because he's playing the best run defense and they're very stingy against the running back. They only allow 12 points to the running back position. Obviously, Taylor scores 20 points every week, and last time we went against the number one running back against the Bills, it backfired on us. So
Yeah, that was my call.
I had to do something spicy this week. So I think it's going to be Jonathan Taylor having a down week.
I mean, you got Jonathan Taylor, who is a big play waiting to happen. He's got a really good offensive line in front of him, but you're going up against an offense that can easily keep the ball away from the Colts. And they also have a defense that is top 5 against every single position this year. They're top 5 versus running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So just a good defense overall. It's not saying that Jonathan Taylor can't have a big week because, like I said, he's a big play waiting to happen, but he can easily get shut down this week.
All right, and that'll do it for us. Thanks again, guys, for joining us on Audibles Sports. Remember to follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and keep a lookout for our FanDuel plays this week. We're going to be posting them on Twitter, and we're hoping to win you guys some money and hoping to win you guys season-long league. So thanks again.
So far, we're doing really well, myself and Jared included, as far as FanDuel goes this year. We've been posting some of our winnings. We're posting our favorite plays of the week, and we're giving some evidence to back up why we like them. Just make sure you're checking out our Twitter page, and hopefully we can get you in on with us.
And it's a great source for you guys to ask us who to start or sit. All the way up until 1 o'clock, we'll be answering questions for you if you got any.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.